everybody comes in, your grandmother, your father, your mother, your brother, your cousins. They come in so easily, so crazy, so crazy.
Early in the morning, they went to the table with the black robe, the black shield, and they pulled out the votes.
With the Burmese executives. So this Burmese, they say, pronounce it Burmese. A real beautiful company.
Oh yeah, you're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but you're now you gotta be honest. I'm gonna be honest with you.
$7 million for reef fish management, $25 million to combat Asian carp, $2.5 million to count the number of amberjack fish in the Gulf of Mexico.
Jack, you guys are all the same.
Versus Satan. Yes, Satan. Because these leftists are evil.
Hello, users, and welcome to another episodic In-Stylution. This is an In-Stylution of I got earwax on my thumb. Fuck me. Shit. I was just scratching my ear and now I got goddamn earwax on my fucking thumb. Can you believe that shit? Who here has like messy ass, like goopy earwax? Does anyone here have like just the wettest earwax in the world? Because that's me. My earwax wet as hell. Anyway, looking good in the thumbnail? I disagree. My hair is beyond. It's beyond comprehension, Max. Take this off, you freaking dog. I got a Max here. His name is Max, and he's a dog, and I haven't brushed my hair in like a week, and I'm losing it! Ah! Alright, so we got a show going on today. We got Anne Actual Cloud in the program. We got Ali CIA in the program. We got Retro Boomer in the program. We got Tyler Hackna in the program. We got Real Ann in the program. We got Sinkwala Lula Lulu in the program. We got Environmental Kofefe House on the program. And many, many more that require me scrolling up. Paladin in the program. Oh, fuck me. Folks, I did a lot of drugs yesterday. I'm recovering, so please bear with me. And I got a slow start, sipping on some Kofefe. And just try to make it out alive. That's the goal here. Just try to get to the end. Does it need to be well done? No. Does it need to be quickly? No. Does it need to be, anything else? No. But I'm just going to try to make it to the end, everybody. The gang is all here. Earth emoji, Earth emoji. What the fuck? We got the whole Earth is here? Hi, Earth. Hey. Anyway, goddamn. Quote, Nation's report card shows new evidence of COVID-19's devastating impact on U.S. children's education. So, a lot of people would read this article and then cry and whine and whinge, even, about the lockdowns that didn't even happen, by the way, in like 80% of the country. But the lockdowns and the virtual learning killed the kids. Now, again, we're in year 3 of the pandemic. We're about to enter year 4 of the pandemic. And just think about that. 4 years. That's high school. Think about this. Think about it. That is high school. 4 years of a pandemic is that's called high school. You could be graduating middle school as the pandemic begins and then go through all of high school during a pandemic. Isn't that insane? Now, before I get into this article, I want to talk about a couple other things. 83% of Americans under the age of 18 have had COVID at least one time. 83% have had COVID at least one time. 83% of kids under 18s have had COVID. 40% of the time, according to studies, long COVID symptoms can develop. What is the most common long COVID symptom? Brain fog? Irritability? Inability to pay attention. So think about this. 83% of kids have had COVID. If about 40% of them developed long COVID, brain fog, inability to pay attention, probably inability to study particularly well, probably less good at a test taking. And so now again, a lot of people love to say, oh, virtual learning for 6 months is what really fucked the kids up. But I'm going to go out on a limb here and say a lot of kids have been infected with a debilitating virus that particularly goes after their brain, particularly can affect how they think and behave. That's what I'm going to go out there and say. So let's read this. Fourth and eighth graders fell behind in reading and had the largest ever decline in math, according to a national education assessment showing the devastating effect of the COVID-19 pandemic on America's children. The alarming findings are based on the National Assessment of Education Progress reading and math exams, often called the nation's report card, and conducted by the National Center for Education Statistics, a branch of the Education Department. If this is not a wake-up call for us to double down on our efforts and improve education even before the pandemic, then I don't know what will, U.S. Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona told CNN. Now, notice this. It's improve education. We got to improve education. I agree. But notice how the elephant in the room is being ignored. 83% of people under the age of 18 have had COVID. 40%, according to studies, right, develop a form of long COVID. The most common form of long COVID that you develop, brain fog, right? So, I don't know, man. Hey, yes, should we improve learning? Absolutely. But how about we, I don't know, take care of the pandemic? Is that possible? Maybe? I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't be subjecting our children to medical experimentation against their will? Maybe. Does anyone think about this? If you have a child under the age of 18, there's an 83% chance that child has had COVID at least one time. Now, again, at least one time. If you get COVID 4 or 5 times over the course of a couple of years, that's going to fuck you up, right? So imagine this, right? 4 years, that's the entirety of high school, or in this case, middle school and elementary school. You can go through an extended period of your education being under the influence of, again, constantly getting reinfected with a virus that you shouldn't be. Now, again, if we did mass lockdowns in 2020, all of this wouldn't be happening. This wouldn't be happening. If we did mass lockdowns in 2020, again, grocery delivery, pharmaceutical delivery, rent relief, all the whole thing. If we did that, which the government is capable of, if we would have done that, we'd be chilling. We'd be chilling right now. Instead, we opened up the schools and gave all of our kids a debilitating illness. Isn't that great? An entire generation has been forced to get sick with a debilitating illness for no reason because the adults, think about this. Kids, they grow up, right? And we're talking about kids, teenagers, whatever. They grow up, right? They're kids. They don't understand how the world works. They assume that the adults have their best interest at heart. They assume that. Kids assume that the adult generations are looking after them. Well, one hell of a wake-up call in this country is when an entire generation of children, teenagers, children, young children, right, realize that the adults, people older than them, older generations, threw them under the bus. Now, again, think about this. 83% of kids have been forced, right? If you don't go to school, guess what happens? Police knock down your door and take you away from your parents, right? So 83% of kids have been forced to undergo medical experimentation. We know COVID is airborne. We know schools are poorly ventilated. We know that if you throw 1,000 kids in a school, that they're all going to get sick. We know that. And yet we did it anyway. Think about this. We did it anyway. We knew long COVID was a serious problem. We knew if we sent these kids to school, they would get sick. We knew all of this. And yet, as a society, we did it anyway. And why? For the corporations. So that they could get another quarter of epic profits. That's why. We sacrificed the well-being of an entire generation of kids. An entire generation of kids has been sacrificed the rest of their lives, right? They're going to have to deal with trauma from this pandemic. They're going to have to deal with illness from this pandemic, a whole generation of new pre-existing conditions. Why? So that a couple corporate executives could make some fat cash? Because Americans are selfish fucking morons. And that's just it. That's the world we live in. In the education secretary, I know they're the education secretary, right? Their purview is education. But everyone on media, they're just ignoring the elephant in the room. They don't care about your kid's health. They don't give a shit. Hey, fuck it. Maybe they do care. They want your kid to get sick. Then your kid's going to have to buy health insurance. Yeah, that's right. You're going to have to buy health insurance and go to the doctor. Maybe get on a couple of prescription pills, medications, right? Maybe these private companies are going to be able to make a giant buck off of those pre-existing conditions. Think about it. Let's keep going here. Cardona suggested the widespread teacher shortages are a symptom of decades of underinvestment. You don't say? Like, my hair is a giant fucking disaster today. The first national assessment of student achievement in 3 years revealed the largest math score declines among 4th and 8th graders since the initial trial assessment in 1990, according to the Centers of Validation. The tests were administered between January and March. No state or large urban district showed improvements in math. The report said 8th grade math scores sank in more than 50 states. In the more than 50 states and jurisdictions. Okay, I was like, what? More than 50 states? What? Okay. In the more than 50 states and jurisdictions participating in the assessment. The last report card was issued in 2019 before the start of the pandemic in the U.S., where schools were shut down and teachers turned to online learning. 8th grade is the gateway to more advanced mathematical course taking, Carr told reporters before the report's release. This is what these students are missing. They're missing these important skills that will prepare them for eventually for science, technology, engineering, and math level careers. The average math score of 236 for the 4th grade was 5 points lower than in 2019. Now, what does 236 mean? We have no idea. These are just numbers that are given to us, and we're supposed to know what that fucking means. 236. And now it's 8 points below 274. What? Okay, whatever. I don't know. Anyway, the numbers mean nothing. The point is that it's going down. They don't tell us what the numbers mean. But again, isn't this weird? Like think about this. If anyone in my audience has kids, don't you feel a little weird sending your child to be stuffed like sardines in a poorly ventilated room where there's a pandemic going on and a virus that is extremely debilitating is going throughout the entire classroom? Doesn't that feel weird? I don't know. Maybe. I'm not a parent, right? But if I had a kid and the government said, if you don't send this kid to this building, we will steal your kid from you. That's what the government says. If you don't send your kid to school, the government will break your door down and steal your child from you. Unless you can homeschool them. But do you have the fucking resources for that? Do you have the know-how for that? Do you have the knowledge for that? Do you have the time for that? Fuck no, of course not. Right? So, I don't know, man. This is fucked up. This is fucked up. So, you can read the whole article. It goes into the more granular demographics. But I think I've made my point here. I don't know. I feel like I'm a crazy person. I do. I genuinely do. All I know, these are the data points for me. 1, COVID affects your brain. That's step 1. I'm out. I don't want COVID. If it affects your brain, I'm done. Right? I'm out. Bye-bye. That's it. But COVID affects your brain. Long COVID can affect your life for a long time. We've had people infected with COVID for the first time in March and April of 2020, and they still have debilitating long COVID symptoms many years later. Right? 3, what is this for? What is it for? What are we doing this for? Why are we doing this? Again, corporate profits. And I want to jump into another article in a second here about that. But, and again, kids have an entire generation of under 18s have learned a lesson. And that lesson is that the older generations sacrificed their lives and well-beings, their being the children's, not for personal gain, but for corporate gain. So corporate entities can make money. Adults sent their kids to medical experimentation facilities for no reason, right? They're suffering when it comes to learning. They're going to be less equipped to deal with the world now, right? We've got a dumber generation. Think about this. Think about it. Now, again, I don't want to be rude here. A lot of kids are really smart, right? But 83% under 18s have been infected at least one time. At least one time. That's all we have statistics for according to the CDC. At least once. So it could be the fact that like 70% of under 18s have been infected 5 times. Who knows, right? But we know that 40% chance that you can develop long COVID symptoms. We also know, I forgot to mention this earlier, that when you are infected with COVID, if you do not rest properly, you are more likely to develop long COVID. Why is that? Oh, because guess what? When you're sick, you're supposed to rest. But in this fucked up, stupid ass world, if you rest, you're a truant. Oh, you're going to call in sick? Well, now you got to go to a doctor. Now your mom has to take off work to take you to a doctor so you get a doctor's note. Right? Think about this. And what is long COVID most likely to develop? Brain fog. So we have an entire generation that's just going to be dumber. This is like the lead gas of the Zoomer generation. This is lead gas. This is asbestos for that generation. I don't know. By the way, everything I've seen has said the Zoomers are they're going to be one of the largest generations. You know, just give it another couple decades. There's a lot of Zoomers out there. Now think about it. An entire generation that got fucked over. They learned that everyone else fucked them over. They're resentful, and they're going to be dumber than the average human. Now, again, I'm not trying to say that all under 18s are dumb, and I'm not trying to use dumb in an offensive way. I'm just saying, if I were 15 years old and I got sick with COVID 3 times and I was not allowed to, take a couple sick days because otherwise I'm a truant, and my mom can't afford the time off to take me to a doctor, right? And then let's say I'm nauseous for several years. Let's say I get dizzy a lot. Let's say I have problems paying attention to things. I have problems thinking straight. And I'm trying to find out why I'm like this, what happened to me. And then I realize, it's all the adults in this world basically forced me to get sick. And now for the rest of my life, we don't know. We don't know. We have no idea how long COVID will develop in its 5th year or 10th year or 20th year. We have no idea. It's possible that 10 years after you get COVID, it could be complete liver shutdown. We don't know. And again, all of this for what reason? For what reason? We could have just done a national lockdown for a couple of months in early 2020 during the summer when kids aren't even in school. Imagine this. March. We locked down all the way until August, right? The pandemic is over. It's done. We send kids back to school in September with masks. During that lockdown, by the way, we reformat schools so that they have proper ventilation. We bring in the whatever filters it is. I forget what the filters are called, right? That help filter the air, right? And then we can learn like normal fucking people. That's not what we did as a society. We decided corporate profits are more important than an entire generation of children and their ability to learn, their ability to participate in society, their ability to be happy, their ability to live a fulfilling life. So, I don't know, man. I'm pretty pissed off. I'm not a Zoomer. I'm 26 years old. But I'm fucking angry on behalf of people younger than me. Because they got fucked over. Really hard. Fucked over. They never had a chance. Think about it. They never had a chance to escape this pandemic. I had a chance. I work from home. I can choose not to leave my house. A 15-year-old can't work from home and choose not to leave their house. A 9-year-old doesn't even really understand what COVID is. It's disappointing. It's disastrous. And it's evil. It's evil. And as a society, everyone wants to pretend like it's not happening. Everyone wants to pretend that this isn't a thing. The adults in the room are children. Think about it. Think about it. A 9-year-old doesn't understand COVID. Does the average 36-year-old understand COVID? Does the average 49-year-old understand COVID? Does the average 63-year-old understand COVID? Probably not. And that's a society-wide failure. Society-wide failure to educate the masses. And again, the CDC is going out there saying, take your mask off, it's all good. The CDC is going out there and lying to people, get back to work if your symptoms are resolving. So anyway, I don't know. But I got more on the pandemic in a second here. So check this out. On the subject of the pandemic, let me get a recap here for the people that don't know this information. So what happened with vaccines in this country throughout the COVID pandemic? Listen to me here. We had vaccine development that was publicly funded by the U.S. government. And then we took that public funding, and instead of making a public vaccine, like an intelligent population, we sold the patents to these companies, right? And then we decided to create a system where the U.S. government buys vaccines from private companies. That's what happened, right? And so in April, March-ish, I guess maybe January, they had the very limited rollout, but really March and April of 2021 was the general rollout of the vaccine. And so you go to the pharmacy, you get the vaccine, it's free. Why is it free? Because the U.S. government paid for your dose. How did they pay for it? By giving a contract to a pharmaceutical company. Well, we know that the U.S. government has stopped funding COVID vaccines. If you get your Omicron bivalent booster, that might be the last COVID shot that you get for free because the U.S. government doesn't care about you. And now, check this out. So the contract that the U.S. government has with these pharmaceutical companies is basically expiring and or expired. So now, I ask you this. What are these pharmaceutical companies going to do now that they know that either private citizens are going to have to pay for the shot or insurance companies are going to have to pay for the shot? So what are they going to do? Well, check this one out. Pfizer plans to sell its COVID vaccine at a 10,000% markup in 2023. Pfizer will charge as much as $130 for Comirnaty, which costs an estimated $118 per dose to produce. It's the mRNA dose that they tried to make a fucking cute name for that's impronounceable. For over 2 years now, the U.S. government has purchased all of the COVID vaccines administered in the country in what has become the largest public vaccination campaign in American history. Those purchases have included more than 500 million doses from Pfizer. The first 100 million cost around $20 a dose, thanks to an earlier agreement in which the U.S. government invested $1.95 billion in vaccine production. The remaining doses were bought for around $30 each. Now, again, that's already a nearly 30 times profit. Think about this. For all the stock traders out there, the crypto people, have you ever made a stock or a crypto trade where you have gotten 30x? I don't know, man. Think about it. It costs about $1 to make, and they're selling it to the government for $30. That's fucking insane. That's insane. That's insane shit. But once the U.S. government supplies run out, likely in the first quarter of 2023, and COVID vaccines and therapeutics are moved on to commercial health platforms, Pfizer is able to hike up the price of its shots. The company announced on October 20 that it intends to sell the COVID vaccine marketed under the brand name Comirnaty for $110 to $130 per dose. This is about 4 times the current selling price and 100 times the estimated cost of manufacturing the vaccine. It costs an estimated $1.18 to produce a vial of vaccine. So check this out. I got $20 right here. Check this out. On my table, I could get 20 doses of this fucking shit, or vials. And I think vials have 6 doses, if I remember correctly. So think about this. $20. And everyone on my fucking street, everyone in like my small section of where I live could get a free vaccine for this. But not according to Pfizer. Pfizer's not interested in that. According to the People's Vaccine Alliance, a coalition of over 100 organizations working to end vaccine inequity, Pfizer spends less than $1.20 to produce each dose of the vaccine. Okay, so a vial and a dose are 2 different things. This article is combining those things for some reason, so factor that in. A vial, right, usually contains multiple doses. What you do is you put the shot in the vial, you pull the dose back, and then you put it in someone's arm, and it usually lasts 5 to 6 or that's what it is. But again, this article written by this person has no idea. They think vial and dose are the same thing. But that's fine. This estimate was drawn from an analysis conducted by international nonprofit Oxfam based on data from Consumer Advocacy, Public Citizen, and Imperial College London. Pfizer has not challenged the estimate, which would imply that the 2023 price represents a 10,000% markup over the manufacturing cost, but the company did provide an explanation for the price hike. Oh, really? Why Pfizer is raising the price of its COVID-19 vaccine. Quote, there are key differences between an emergency and traditional model that increase the costs of making and distributing the COVID-19 vaccine, Pfizer told Quartz via email. That's the news site here. These costs, the companies say, include distributing through multiple channels and payers instead of one, as well as producing the doses in single vials. Oh. Right, okay, that's even more epic. So they reduce the efficiency of the vaccine on purpose so that they can charge more money? That's crazy shit, man. I love it. I love it. Pfizer also said the company's expectation, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? America, folks. America? What do we do? What do we do in this scenario? Does anyone have any ideas? I have a couple ideas. I don't know if I'm going to be telling you these ideas. But I don't know. But you go on any other fucking show on YouTube, COVID's over, right? You go on cable news, COVID's over. You look to the U.S. government, COVID's over. So, you go to the real world, you go outside, and COVID's fucking everywhere. So, I don't know. Reminds me of a certain book, some kind of thing, reminds me of, a movie that's based on a book. It reminds me of, some thing here that I can't quite think about. But, there you go. You're developing jaundice, Retro Boomer? Oof. It's no good. Anyway. As if this show wasn't already epic. Donald Trump plans to challenge 2022 elections starting in Philadelphia. The former president is fixated on challenging the results of Pennsylvania's Senate race, which he views, as one source puts it, as a dress rehearsal for Trump 2024. In early September, Donald Trump welcomed a handful of Republican allies to Manhattan's Trump Tower with an urgent message. He saw a scam happening with the midterm election voting in Philadelphia and elsewhere in Pennsylvania, and he wanted conservatives to do something about it. Now, again, real quick, Donald Trump lost the 2020 election. There was no voting fraud other than the voting fraud, of course, from Republicans, right? Joe Biden is the winner. Donald Trump is an idiot and a loser. During our briefing, he was concerned that 2020 is going to happen again in 2022, says former senior Trump administration official Michael Caputo, referencing Trump's debunked assertion that voter fraud in Philadelphia helped win Pennsylvania for Joe Biden. That is not true. Caputo, who attended the meeting alongside Bradford County Commissioner Doug McLinko and retired CIA officer Sam Faddis, says they had a message back to the former president. Our team encouraged him to be concerned. Furthermore, I'm advising Republicans to recruit and train election observers and a team of attorneys to oversee historically problematic precincts. I read a study about a month ago that more than half of Americans have an election denier on the ballot, which means more than half of elections in this country, and there's a lot of elections, especially, when it comes to like city council, local level, all that stuff, more than half of elections in the United States have someone who literally does not believe in the Constitution running for office. More than half. But it's not just one meeting, and it's not just Philly. In recent months, Trump has convened a series of in-person meetings and conference calls to discuss laying the groundwork to challenge the 2022 midterm election results. Four people familiar with the conversations tell Rolling Stone. In these conversations, pro-Trump groups, attorneys, Republican Party activists, and MAGA diehards often discuss the type of scorched earth legal tactics they could deploy. And they've gamed out scenarios for how to aggressively challenge elections, particularly ones in which a winner is not declared on election night. Now, again, because of the rise in mail-in ballots, there's which are typically counted later because, it requires waiting for the mail. It requires, going through, whereas election day is instantaneous, right? We also know Democrats are more likely to use mail-in ballots because of Trump's 2020 conspiracy theories. And so that means that in 2020, right, we saw an election that was referred to as the Red Mirage, where Republicans were up everywhere on election night. And then once mail-in ballots were counted, that's why Joe Biden was declared the winner like a week later or whatever, right? So there's really no indication that 2022 would be different. And another fun fact, Republicans were more likely to use mail-ins before Donald Trump. So just throwing that out there. Trump has been briefed on plans in multiple states and critical races, including in Georgia. But Pennsylvania has grabbed his interest most keenly, including the Senate contest between Democrat John Fetterman, who is currently the lieutenant governor, and the Trump-endorsed GOP contender Mehmet Oz. If the Republican does not win by a wide enough margin to trigger a speedy concession from Fetterman, or if the vote tally is close on or after election night in November, Trump and other Republicans are already preparing to wage a legal and activist crusade against the election integrity of Democratic strongholds such as the Philadelphia area. So imagine January 6th, except you get thousands of Oath Keepers with guns, Proud Boys with guns, Patriot Front with guns descending on Philadelphia instead of the Congress in Washington, D.C. Imagine that. And I'm going to tell you this much. I've been to Philadelphia. I've been to protests in Philadelphia. I've been to protests that have had Proud Boys and other right-wing militias in Philadelphia. And usually, things do not end well. I'm just saying, in my experience, having gone to a couple, 3 or 4 different protests there, things can get violent. I've seen a lot of videos of things getting violent. Philadelphia doesn't fuck around. It's a very left-wing city. It's got a lot of very militant left-wing activists that are willing to defend their city. And so, hey, when you've got a theoretical scenario where thousands of quote-unquote right-wing activists, aka paramilitary troopers, try to invade a city, things are not going to go well. Trump's focus on Pennsylvania, however, seems to be more about his own political future than about party allegiance or fealty to a celebrity endorsee. As he hosts meetings on possible 22 election challenges, he's also been laying the groundwork for a run in 24, where Pennsylvania again promises to be a critical and competitive state. As one source who has spoken to Trump several times about a potential post-election day legal battle over the Oz-Fetterman race puts it, Trump views a potential midterm challenge as a dress rehearsal for Trump 2024. So you can read the rest of this article. That's a great photo of Oz there. But anyway, things are going well in the United States of America. So stay tuned for the next episode of What the Fuck's Going On, because it's coming pretty soon. The election is in a couple weeks. If you haven't voted yet, if you don't have access to early voting, then, well, if you do have access to early voting, then vote. And if you don't, then vote later, I guess. But just be sure you vote. I don't know. That's all. Yeah, that's right. I'm pro-voting on this show. So, there you go. What could possibly go wrong? Check this out. Check this out. I know, we're on a tear this morning. This is the Doomer Show. I love Doom. All right. Speaking of Doom, by the way, subscribe to my new Doom Speedrun channel on YouTube.com. I'm trying to get monetization status. So subscribe and help me out. So there you go. But anyway, let's jump on in. Let's jump on in. Anger on their minds. NBC News poll finds sky-high interest and polarization ahead of midterms. %80 of Democrats and Republicans believe the political opposition poses a threat that, if not stopped, will destroy America as we know it. Less than 3 weeks before Election Day, voter interest has reached an all-time high for a midterm election, with a majority of registered voters saying this election is more important to them than past midterms. What's more, this is the number that I need you to really try to wrap your head around. 80% of Democrats and Republicans believe the political opposition poses a threat that, if not stopped, will destroy America as we know it. And 2/3 of reliable Democratic and Republican voters say they'd still support their party's political candidate even if that person had a moral failing that wasn't consistent with their own values. Those are some of the major findings in a new national NBC News poll, which shows a competitive contest for November and offers positive signs for both parties. On positive signs for both parties. I don't even know what that means, right? But on Democrat side, President Joe Biden's approval rating remains steady at 45%, blah, blah, blah. Congressional preference continues to be relatively even, with 47% of registered voters preferring Democrats to control Congress versus 46% who want Republicans in charge. And threats to democracy are voters' number one issue for the third straight NBC News poll. For Republicans, the positive signs are that Biden's approval rating among independent swing state voters is in the 30s and low 40s. That the GOP once again holds the enthusiasm advantage, and that Republicans lead in congressional preference among a smaller set of likely voters, 48 to 47, although that's well within the survey's margin of error. Yet beyond the horse race numbers and the high interest in the election, what stands out as the poll is the bipartisan anger among Democrats and Republicans. Quote, "Tell Biden to resign!" A male Republican respondent from Missouri said, "Save this country," said a female Republican from New York State. "Democracy is in jeopardy," said a male Democrat from Massachusetts. Don't mess with reproductive rights, said a female Democrat from California. Democratic pollster Jeff who conducted the survey with Republican said, "We know that many voters will be casting ballots with anger on their minds. We just don't know which side will be angrier." According to the poll, 47% of registered voters say they prefer Democrats to control. We already know that. What the fuck? Anyway. Think about this. I want to analyze this 80% number that they're talking about here. Like the one about the anger, right? Why are Democrats angry? Why are Republicans angry? Democrats are angry because Republicans want to take away people's right to health care. If you have a uterus, you do not have the same access to health care that someone without a uterus has. You just don't. This is an apartheid system that they want to create, where anyone with certain body parts and organs is at a lower rung of the ladder. They don't want you to have rights. They don't. They don't want you to be able to see a doctor. The same thing if you're gay or trans. They don't want you to see a doctor. If you're trans, several states are banning you from seeing a doctor. If you're under 18, you will go to jail. Your parents will go to jail, if you go to see a doctor, if you're under 18 years old. If your parents want to take you to a doctor, they will go to jail in many states in this country. A doctor. Your right to go to a doctor. I should say this. Your right to fork out excessive amounts of money that you don't have to go see a doctor because we live in a for-profit healthcare system. That is what Republicans don't want you to have. They don't want you to go to a doctor. They want you to die. In a literal sense. Die or be a slave to their system. They want you to pop out babies till the cows come home. Right? Hopefully white babies. Right? In their ideal, according to Amy Coney Barrett. Right? Now again, why are Republicans angry? Republicans are angry because parents are taking transgender children to the doctor. That's why Republicans are angry. Because parents decided to take their child, not your child. That's not your child. That's their child. Parents decided to take their own child to a doctor. That's why Republicans are angry. Republicans are angry because Democrats support teaching kids history. Republicans are angry because Democrats support funding education. Republicans are angry because Democrats want to give people access to a wider array of social welfare programs. Now, again, there's so many conspiracies in the right-wing world. One of the most nefarious is that all transgender healthcare is based on sending children to factories where they harvest their body parts and shit. A good amount of Republicans believe that. A good amount of Democrats believe that too. Right? So we got some really pervasive right-wing fucking fairy tale bullshit going on in this country. But at the end of the day, think about why these people are angry. One side is angry because the other side is taking their rights away. The other side is angry because of magical fairy tale garbage that doesn't exist in the real world. So, what could possibly go wrong? What could possibly go wrong? That combined with Donald Trump saying he wants to, combat elections in the midterms. Again, Democrats and Republicans pretty much dead even in most polls of of the generic congressional ballot, pretty much even as hell. And Donald Trump's plan is, if it's close, they're going to try to steal the election. So, hey, I don't want to sit here and tell you that you're fucked or that we're fucked. And again, just to be clear, not in the good dick way. We are not being fucked in the good dick way. Republicans don't want that to happen. They want to ban condoms. The Republican Party wants to ban condoms. Think about this. Think about it. The Republican majority on the Supreme Court has signaled, many of them, Alito, Thomas, Barrett, Kavanaugh, they have signaled that they want to ban condoms in this country. They want to ban all forms of contraception in this country. What? They want to ban oral sex. Clarence Thomas has signaled, he wrote a brief on this, an official Supreme Court brief on this, that he wants to ban, or at least he is quote unquote thinking about wanting to ban oral sex in this country. That's crazy. These people are crazy. I need you to understand how crazy these motherfuckers are. And again, they've all been manipulated and brainwashed into thinking that we're the crazy ones. People that just want to have blowjobs are crazy, apparently. People that want to wear a condom are crazy. People that don't want to be saddled with a child because they got raped when they're 14 years old are crazy in these people's minds. People that want to go to a doctor are crazy. So, I don't know, man. One side's not like the other. That I can tell you for a fact. But also what I can tell you for a fact is that we're fucked. And once again, not in the good dick way. Absolutely not even close to the good dick way. I wish it was. I wish I could sit here and tell you the good dick way is coming, but it's not. And if Clarence Thomas has anything to say, it will never come. So, it's not good. Yeah, there you go. Oh. Also, again, I will be doing a midterm election stream. It will be happening. A midterm election stream. I'm not sure if I'm going to be streaming it on YouTube or on Twitch. I'm not sure. I don't know. If I'm going to do a midterm stream, the YouTube audience is more likely to watch. But also, I'm not going to sit here and fucking jerk off the whole time and read poll numbers. I'll play a video game or two, right? So then, I don't know. Streaming on both requires resources that I don't have access to at the moment. How about not in the good way? Is the dick part necessary? Dick is always necessary. Actual Cloud. It's always necessary. Talk about how there is no hell. The real hell is here on earth. I agree. Oh. Andrew Kohler, I don't need your sass right now. I'm projecting my staunch heterosexuality on everyone else right now, so please settle down. This is hell, and Satan is Joe Biden. All right. So that's pretty much the news portion of the show. that's the news portion of the show. We're going to be jumping into a movie review pretty soon. Have I seen Terrifier? No, but many people have suggested it to me. I don't know if I'm going to get to it this year, but I have heard of it. Maybe next year I'll add it to my queue. But going to be jumping into a movie review. Y'all might like it. It's great. It's one of those movies that really begs the question, is it horror? It's listed in horror databases, but maybe. We'll see. We'll have a conversation. But first, a message from our sponsors. Yeah, that's right. Our sponsors. And I'm sponsored by myself. Go subscribe to my latest YouTube channel. And I'm trying to get monetization there, so hit it up. The invite to the Zoom featuring Jamie Raskin. Mila, I have a question about this. Right? This is a 5 p.m., right? Like this is and it's a right now, like today commitment. Like, would I be able to ask a question? And if so, what would the question be that I would ask? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, I have no idea. Like, Jamie Raskin. Like, what would I ask Jamie Raskin? Like, that's not like a generic, how do you feel about this? I'm not going to be able to ask him a good question. And so, if I'm not going to ask him a good question, or if I'm not going to be able to ask him a question, I'll be honest. I don't, I have more important things to do. No offense. I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to be rude, but, I think Jamie Raskin is good on his core issues, Like, I think Jamie Raskin takes the insurrection stuff the most seriously out of anybody, so. Yeah, Jamie Raskin has put forth 14th Section 3 before, so, I don't know. Jamie Raskin is a representative from Maryland. But yeah, I mean, that's cool that that's going to be a thing. I hope it goes well, though, for sure. You have a question? What's up? Give me your question. Yeah, Corey Bush brought it up, but I know Raskin signed on to it for sure. I remember he brought it up in one of the impeachment proceedings. I think, the January 6th impeachment proceeding. He brought up Section 3. Hurry up and ask the question, otherwise I'm jumping into the movie. You got 15 seconds. And gone. And all your investigation into what? Foreign involvement? Foreign? What the fuck? Cloud, I'm going to give you a couple more minutes to figure out that question. Ask me again after the movie review. All right. Jumping in. I saw Mom and Dad last night. Now, again, this movie begs the question, is it a horror movie? I say yes. This is absolutely a horror movie. Mom and Dad, starring Nicolas Cage. An excellent film. 1 hour and about 25 minutes this film is, so it's a short one. But the whole ride is massive, extreme, terrifying anxiety. Like, almost every scene with Nicolas Cage, his acting in this movie is, again, it's all time. This is one of the greatest Nicolas Cage performances out of any movie. It's incredible. It's incredible. I really have to tell you, it is incredible. Like, the way in the early parts of the film that Nicolas Cage, like, has those, like, weird blank moments, or, like, the shrieking, like, signal sound is playing, and then he, like, twists his head and everything's normal. Fuck. So, anyway, the premise of the movie is there's some sort of signal being played through televisions that makes parents want to murder their children. So, like, the love and protection instinct in the parents is flipped to, you know, obviously, you know, oh, I have a kid, I love my kid. From that to, oh, I have a kid, obviously, I want to kill my kid. And so that's the basis for the movie. Nicolas Cage is the dad in Mom and Dad. And Selma Blair is the mom, who also does a really good job. Another fun fact about this movie is there's a scene where they're watching television before the signal appears. After the signal appears, but before it appears on that television. And there's like a news montage of people trying to like figure out what it is. And in one of the montages, you have Dr. Oz being interviewed. So Dr. Oz is in this movie, who's now we know is a fucking Republican Senate candidate. But back when he was a TV snake oil doctor, he did get into movies. You know, for news snippets, those are things that would happen. So, you know, just throwing that out there. But anyway, so like the first half of the movie is setting up the mom and dad character, setting up the kids. The teenage daughter is, you know, she's pretty bitchy. She hates her parents, you know. Fuck you, right? Like, you know, that kind of attitude. The little boy is like 8 years old or some shit, or like probably maybe 5. I don't even know. Like pretty young. They're running around. They got toys all over the place. They're just chilling. And mom and dad, you know, dad's like you know, he's entering a midlife crisis. You know, he's you know, he's kind of out of it. It's suggested that he's fucking the secretary at one point in the movie, so you know, he's not really all the way in on what's happening in his life. The mom is, you know, she's got like a tenuous, you know, social, calendar. Her sister is having a baby. There's a great scene where her sister has the baby, hears the signal when the like while the umbilical cord is still there, and then like tries to attack the baby in the hospital room. It was great. It was incredible. And the premise of the movie is that the kid wants to go somewhere with her best friend. The teenage daughter wants to go somewhere with her best friend or whatever. But the parents want her to stay home because Nicolas Cage's parents are coming over for a family dinner, right? But they only bring that up once in the movie at the very beginning, right? And then as like the crazy violence starts happening, right? Right? There's one moment in the movie where the doorbell rings and then Nicolas Cage's parents come in. And like, you know, a lot of the time, like, you know, I can see a lot of viewers forgetting that detail. And then when you hear the doorbell, it's like, oh, fuck. Because then it turns into a multi-generational, like, battle royale where, like, Nicolas Cage's parents are trying to kill Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage is trying to dodge the parents' attacks while also trying to kill his own kids. And it's great. I mean, my favorite scene in this movie has to be the pool table scene. So while the two kids are running away from mom and dad, and you know, throughout the house they're like trying to dodge, and then they decide, let's go into the basement and lock the door. They go in the basement, and in the basement they see a fucking mess. There's wood everywhere, there's broken shit everywhere, there's like balls everywhere from the pool table, billiard balls, right? The whole basement's a mess. And then it starts a flashback. It immediately cuts to black and says 3 weeks ago. And then it's like, it cuts to like a montage of like Nicolas Cage building a pool table and he's making it perfect. And it's like, he's so into this. And then the wife comes down and is like, oh boy, can you afford this? Can we afford this? And she starts doing the financial stuff. And then he has a meltdown. He takes a sledgehammer and destroys the whole basement and has a giant fucking meltdown. And you think the scene's going to end there. You know, oh yeah, like the Nicolas Cage character was always fucked up and crazy, right? That's where you think the scene's going to end. But then it cuts to him crying, saying like, you know, when he was younger, he would never imagine how his life would turn out. You know, the typical midlife crisis stuff. And then like the mom and the dad, they're having like a moment where they're like, you know, they're both weeping over the lives that they could have had or whatever. And it's actually like kind of like it's pretty emotional. And it's they go for that, like, you know, the 1-2 punch. But then it cuts back to the mom and dad, like the present day, and then they're in the basement with the fucked up, you know, pool table and all the like the mess everywhere, and there's like weapons in the basement, there's like the sledgehammer and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, the mom and dad can't get in because they don't know how to bust the door down. Apparently they just can't do it, I guess. I don't know why. So what they do is they decide to hook up a gas line, right, into the basement to gas them out. And then there's a whole, like, the whole arc of the film is, like, the kids are getting gassed, right? And they're coughing, and they're, like, not moving properly, and, like, they're fucked up. But the teenage daughter decides to lay a trap under the door with matches, finds matches, sets it up under the door, so when they break the door down and the door moves, it'll light the matches, light the gas, and then blow them up. Not the kids, but the mom and dad as they try to enter the room. That was a great scene. When Nicolas Cage opens the door and gets blown, and not in the good dick way either, but when he gets blown up by the fire in the door, that was crazy. He survives. I guess the door protected him from the flames. I don't know, but he gets fucked up pretty bad. Anyway, man, this movie, non-stop. I mean, like, look at the poster, right? 0 to 60 speed crazy. I mean, I don't even know if that's English, but like that'll pretty much, you know, that sums it up. Like a twisted remake of Home Alone on bath salts. I mean, that about sums it up. Now, again, is it a horror movie? I would say it's more of an anxiety comedy than a horror, but I think it definitely qualifies as horror. There's horror elements. Anxiety is a horror kind of feeling. You know, it builds anxiety. That's horror. It takes place, you know, like, you know, it's kind of like a slasher. There's lots of like slasher kind of scenes, you know. There's a scene where the teenage daughter's boyfriend is going home, and then he gets into a fight with his dad, and you know, it gets pretty brutal and fucked up, and this like. So I would definitely say that this qualifies as like semi-slasher in the horror genre. So I feel comfortable reviewing it during my horror marathon. But this movie, again, if you like Nicolas Cage, I'm a huge Cage fan. You know, I'm trying to collect every Nicolas Cage movie, right? That's what I want to do. And then watch them all in chronological order. That's going to be another movie marathon at some point. Maybe in a couple years. It's going to take me a while to collect them all. But anyway, I got to say, I've seen not every Cage movie. I haven't seen every single one yet. But I've seen a good chunk. I've probably seen at least 40 or 50 Cagers. And I got to tell you, all-time banger performance from Nicolas Cage. Like, we're talking, like wow. Like, we're talking about, whoa. We're talking about one fuck mother of a film. And it's the whole movie. It's like an hour. Like, there's like a middle part. You know, like Nicolas Cage is in the beginning. And then there's like a middle part when the teenage daughter's at school. And it shows like what the mom's doing where Cage is kind of absent. But then as soon as he comes back, it's fucked up, man. It goes all in. It's great. It's an all-time banger performance from Nicolas Cage. I love this movie. This is a movie that I feel like I could watch it 10 times and it's still entertaining. Like, this movie is just, it's great. It's great. I have to recommend you watch it. And again, it's short. It's only like an hour and 20 minutes, not counting the credits. So it's not that long. It's pretty short. And again, it is a banger. It is an all-time banger. Like the screaming, like the acting, like Nicolas Cage does this thing where he like shakes his face all the time. And it's like, it's crazy shit, man. I love it. I love it. I love it. All the acting is wonderful. And the concept, it's good enough to get the job done. And fuck, I mean, it's a movie. It's a movie. I don't know what to tell you. It's a fucking movie! So, there you go. Mom and Dad, check it out. That's the show. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be doing that thing, Cloud, but thank you for being so interested in it. But there you go. It's a goddamn movie. Cloud can do it? Yeah, invite Cloud. That's fine. Absolutely. And then I'll take a clip from it or whatever if you want. That's all I got. That's the show. So, that's it. Movies, man. They're like, just so movie-like. Like, goddamn movies, man. Fuck. Like, you know, like movies, man. Well, you know, I want to use dumb in a literal sense. I use it often in a figurative sense or in an insulting way. But I wanted to use it in like a literal, like they are, like Generation Z is going to be on average dumber than millennials. You know? And millennials are really dumb too, but like again, millennials have like that golden, it's like the, like our, you know, we're dealing with microplastics, all that kind of stuff. But like lead paint gets banned, so like Gen X, they're like they're fucking, you know, they're getting all that lead paint, the lead gas, you know, they're fucking up, you know, and then the millennials come around, lead paint is banned, lead gas is banned, you know, that kind of stuff. We're chilling. We graduate high school. I didn't, but some people did. And now Generation Z has all got long COVID. Again, like, I mean, let me look up the current statistic on the CDC website for that one. Can I find this? I don't remember what this page was. There's so many fucking things in this website. Why? Whatever. I'll look it up later. Yeah, last time I checked, it was 83%. So, and I'm sure, and it can only go up, right? Like you can't go back in time and get uninfected with COVID once, you know. So, goddamn home is depressed now. Shit. Q-Cock, what is the best show and why is it above it all? Now that's a good question. Typically speaking, Chinese people look like Chinese people. That is true. That's factual. Typically speaking, of course. Anyway, y'all, thank you for watching. I appreciate everyone for showing up and supporting the show and all that. Thank you so much. But that's it. So hopefully you all enjoyed. I'll upload the clips and all that. And yeah, so.
In case you don't know, and you haven't seen the latest polls, the American people hold the President of the United States in contempt. They hold this institution in contempt. They hold the Republican Party in contempt. They hold the Democratic Party in contempt. They think that maybe, given all of the crises facing this country, it's about time that there was some bold leadership here and that this institution made some hard choices.
Running against the worst candidate in the history of presidential politics puts pressure on me. Could you imagine if I lose my whole life? What am I going to do? I'm going to say, I lost to the worst candidate in the history of politics. I'm not going to feel so good. Maybe I'll have to leave the country. I don't know.
No, seriously, hot sauce. I've been eating a lot of hot sauce, a lot of raw peppers and hot sauce.